What would you say if I told you that the American Dream Dusty Rhodes once brought a gorilla onto nationwide television? Well, that's exactly what happened, and we are here to tell you about it. I'm Mark.
And I'm Harris.
And we'd like to welcome you to Behind the Gorilla, a podcast where we delve into the wild, wacky, and crazy side of professional wrestling. Hey everyone, this is our inaugural episode of Behind the Gorilla.
All right, let's do it.
Been talking about it for a couple weeks now and finally are able to sit down and record it. We got a crazy episode. The main topic we're going to discuss is there was an episode of NWA World Championship Wrestling back from 1985 where Dusty Rhodes brought a gorilla onto TV. That's going to be the main topic, but first we're going to talk about current situations of wrestling right now. So what do you think about this week on Raw?
Dude, Bayley's back. I
Bayley's
love it.
back.
They got Bayley. She's interesting again. You know, they managed to just kill her off completely when she first got called up, and I get it. You know, it's hard to kind of maintain an underdog sort of character like she had, but they just gave her the title straight away, and then they didn't do anything with it. They kind of referenced that she was good because she came up from NXT, but there were a lot of people who felt like she should have replicated that long build that she had at NXT, where she's not quite on the level of, you know, Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
And
Which she should be.
And she is at this point, so I get that.
Physically, she is.
Oh,
She's better than most of those.
As a worker, yeah, no, I agree. I just think it's, you know, from a storytelling perspective, they've been in the big leagues for a little bit longer. They should be kind of a next notch up, that sort of thing. And by giving her the title as quickly as they did, they kind of lost an opportunity to build that up again.
Yeah.
But then she lost it to Alexa Bliss, and it's just kind of been not toiling in the undercard because there's only like 8 women on Raw.
That's true.
Just kind of hanging out for a couple of months. And now I think they have a really good opportunity to build her organically again. And that's what they've been doing. They let her work with Sasha again.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
her
that's
best
what they
work
needed.
When you have, right. I mean, they're just good for each other.
They're great.
When you have a baby face that's as pure as Bayley is, she's only going to be as good as a heel she's working off of. Mm-hmm. And when they like Sasha hasn't even turned full heel yet.
No.
It's probably coming.
Yeah, they keep waiting, and I'm not really sure why.
I wonder if they aren't going to flip it and turn Bayley heel just because everyone is ready for Sasha to turn heel.
But why? That would serve...
I don't know if it would work. I just think that's one of those things where, you know, Vince or whoever it is looking around and says, oh, well, they all think it's going to be Sasha. Well, you know, just left turn and it'll be Bayley. I'm curious to see how she works as a heel, but you'd like to see her get a really good, strong, you know, babyface NXT Bayley run in first. Mm-hmm. And I don't trust them to pull that off in the long term, quite frankly. But
yeah,
you know, she's gotten a couple good wins, and I like that they've been doing these one-on-one matches the last few weeks.
I do too. I miss one-on-one matches. It seems like right now we're not having any one-on-one matches, so I like that.
Especially in the women's division, where, God bless them, since the Divas Revolution started, it's been tag match, tag match, tag match.
That's true.
And then Paige brought her girls up. It's been tag match, tag match, tag match. This is not the worst thing in the world to have a deeper roster, but you're right. It's hard to establish a hierarchy when there's no real matches, you know? And I like how they've been, you know, they had Sasha fight Asuka a couple weeks ago. Real good match, gave him a lot of time.
It was.
Just barely lost. And then the next week, they had Bayley do the same thing, just barely lost. And that, you know, it's not that anybody's getting buried, but now you have a pecking order. You have Asuka, who's up here right on top. She's going to run through everybody until she gets to the title, unless something goes horribly wrong. But then right below that, you know, you have Bayley and Sasha, and when one of them eventually beats her, it's going to be a bigger deal because you can see that hierarchy at work there. I think it just works better for the storytelling.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. But then kind of on the same, if we've been, you know, we're talking about the whole women's revolution and everything, which is the most overused term in all of professional wrestling.
It's terrible.
But Ronda.
Oh, boy.
Ronda's officially signed.
Oh, boy.
It says that she's signed as like an actual talent.
Mm-hmm. Full time.
But I don't know exactly what that means. Is this full-time as in full-time? Or is this full-time as an exclusive like Brock?
Yeah, I would guess it's more likely Brock Lesnar full time.
That's
in the
what I
sense
think.
that she's an employee full time, but she's not working any house shows.
No,
you know, although
no,
she
no.
should. That's the best way to
look. That's one way to say it. But look, as soon as you make her part of the roster, her entire value is diminished. As soon as you make her part of the roster, she's no longer big draw.
As soon as she starts appearing on a regular basis, yeah. I mean, I think
so. Do you keep her? Should they keep her like Brock, where she's coming in much less than the other people to keep it as a big draw?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, like I said, I don't think she's going to be working house shows or anything like that. She shouldn't really be on TV every week, at least until they figure out what they're working with. Because who knows? Like, she could be like Kurt Angle and just pick it up immediately.
She could.
But she also might not. I can't think of another example on the opposite end of the spectrum. But I'm apprehensive about this, honestly. Like, I'm really excited, but as you know, I've only been watching wrestling for about 4 or 5 years now. I didn't watch as a kid, so I don't have this long history to draw on. And I've never been burned that badly before by WWE, not yet.
Yeah.
And I'm scared this might be when it happens, because I love Ronda. But I think they're either going to play her against her strengths and have her come out there and try to cut these really long-winded promos, or they're just going to put her over at the expense of all the other characters that they've been trying to develop since the women's revolution started. I just feel like it's a weird balance of things for them to try and do with her as a character. And
I agree.
I don't trust them to pull it off, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure. It's definitely exciting though. It's good for the company, no doubt.
True.
There's in no way is this bad for WWE. There's no way it can be bad. Even if they mess up a character, they're still going to make a lot of money off of her before that. Like it's going to be good. So it's just, is this good for the women's division? Is this good, is it going to end up paying off for the fans the way everyone kind of wants it to? It really will be interesting to see what they do with that, I guess. But so moving kind of on to the main event scene, we're seeing a lot of people involved in title matches. We have now not 6 but 7 people in the Elimination Chamber.
Yes.
I think it's just too much. I think it's lazy. I think when you have this many people, it's just lazy. I get that this all the 7 men in the Elimination Chamber happened because of the injury to Jason Jordan. I get it. And I want Seth Rollins back in the main event. I like that. But it's just like, the whole thing just seems forced, and it's lazy. It's lazy booking to me. Where's the direction? What is the direction of anything going into WrestleMania other than we know it's gonna be Ronda and Stephanie. We know that's gonna be the program.
Yep.
Whether it's with The Rock and Triple H, remains to be seen. But that's going to be the program.
And that'll be fun.
We know it's going to be Shinsuke and AJ, unless WWE are complete morons. We know it's going to be Brock and Roman. We know those. Mm-hmm. What else is happening?
Well, I think
we are 2 months away from WrestleMania.
2 pay-per-views, yeah.
What is any storyline at all?
I think it's annoying that they haven't started any of them yet, because you think okay, the Rumble is WrestleMania season, and then we go. And this year it seems like they're saying, no, we're going to set them up at Elimination Chamber in Fastlane.
But I think that's why that seems it's going to be rushed setup, and then it's going to be nothing.
We haven't even touched on the SmackDown.
I guess Owens and Zayn will probably be one of the matches.
I guess.
But then, the only other thing,
they put them in a multi-man match.
I guess now they've built up, Elias and Cena, so that might be the match.
That'd be a good match.
That'd be fine.
I would be very. I'd like that.
But and then the only other thing is, I hope they carry over Wyatt and Matt Hardy. I hope that ends up being a WrestleMania match.
I think it will.
I hope so. But
they
there's
clearly
nothing,
don't have anything else planned for them.
Right. And there's really nothing set up. There's really nothing on SmackDown other than AJ and Nakamura, and then maybe Owens and Zayn. That's the only thing I can think of. Unless it seems like they've been setting up a Shane Daniel Bryan match for the longest time, but then Daniel Bryan, they're not gonna have him wrestle. So I don't get why they've been building that up.
Unless they are.
Unless they do a freaking Donald Trump, Vince McMahon thing where they have wrestlers wrestle for them. That's the only thing I can think of.
WWE Hall of Famer Donald Trump.
Yeah, I know.
That's just, if Daniel Bryan comes back, I don't want to see him fight Shane.
I agree.
I want to see him fight Brock Lesnar.
It's so confusing.
It's
so... I don't know what's going on.
Look, they don't do long-term character-driven storytelling.
That sucks.
That's not what they do. No, and I think that's the thinking in all the multi-man matches, and they can, they do, well, which is what the Rumble usually is. Like last year, Roman Reigns eliminated The Undertaker, so they're going to fight at WrestleMania.
Yeah, but that's
It's going to be something like that, but minus a month of build.
Which is the problem.
Yeah.
That's what I don't
do?
like.
That's why they call it the fast lane to WrestleMania.
Yeah, apparently.
I don't know. So what is the main event for Fastlane?
Main event for Fastlane is a fatal 5-way match. It went from AJ versus the winner of Owens and Zayn. AJ was on commentary. Zayn provoked AJ. AJ knocked Zayn and then attacked Owens, who then came out. So then they made it a triple threat match. Daniel Bryan, of course.
Okay, and still, that's...
Yeah, but still, that's still lazy. I want to see one-on-one matches, but okay. Then... for no reason, like not even on the show, online, really? Shane is like, for next week, Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler are gonna have a match, and the winner of that will be inserted into the triple threat match.
Oh, and then did they get DQ'd too?
No, and then
something happened.
Yeah, well that was okay, and then this past week was actually a good opening. It was a really good opening segment. Dolph Ziggler came to the ring, and then before Baron Corbin could come out, Owens and Zayn attacked Corbin backstage, left him lying, then came out, attacked Ziggler, left him lying. And so then they changed it to not...
It's like they don't even watch
wrestling. Now these two beat up guys don't now get to... They're both beat up.
Yes.
They don't get to still have a match. Now, what it is a beat up Ziggler gets to fight Sami Zayn, and a beat up Corbin gets to fight Kevin Owens, and if they both win, they're both in the match as well, which makes no logical sense why that would be the solution. And so they both won, and then now it's a fatal 5.
Now, and I like that they're giving these matches stakes, like the Elimination Chamber. Backing up to that, like they have a match to see who gets in the Elimination Chamber. They have matches to see who's going to be the last one in, who's going to be the first one in. The Miz and Cena did that. That's really interesting, and I feel like everything they've done on SmackDown for like the last 6 months has been whatever they're doing on Raw, but like diet.
Yeah, no, I think the opening
tropes,
was cool, but it's just the whole thing just doesn't really make sense. Okay, my favorite part of SmackDown was Ziggler to Zayn. Everyone was excited about that. We finally get to see that matchup. It was a very good match. Ziggler won the match, pinfall, 1, 2, 3 with a super kick. It's back, baby.
He did it.
It's back.
It's back.
The move is a finisher again.
The super kick is back. I mean, it's... This is
against everything the Young Bucks have tried, it is now a finisher again. I was so happy. I was like, funny. Yes.
That's the thing. Like, I know it doesn't make any sense if we're thinking about this as like any sort of real competitive fight, but that's one of the things that I've always loved about wrestling is just the video game rules that apply.
Yeah.
Like Dolph Ziggler can hit you with a super kick, and it only does like half the damage that would do if Shawn Michaels hit you with a super kick. Like, it makes no sense. I'm curious to see how this goes, and we can use this as a segue if you want, to how the rest of like our main topics on this show will go, because I feel like I enjoy the silliness a little bit more sometimes, and if you disagree, please tell me, but I think just because I didn't grow up with this, so I have no expectations, that was part of what got me into wrestling in the first place, was kind of having to say... Okay, it is inherently silly a lot of the time.
You get the Heath Slater in the Royal Rumble. And
that was funny.
That was my favorite part of the Rumble.
That was awesome.
It was amazing.
It was fantastic.
Like, that is perfect use of that.
It really is. I mean, he's got a great spot in the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What Heath Slater does, even Kurt Hawkins to some degree with the losing streak, that works to some degree.
That's great. Because like, if he's going to be a loser, own it. You know? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know when they're ever going to do it, but whenever he beats somebody,
it'd be a big deal.
That's going to be like a month of a story right there. That'll be fun. Like, just imagine if he like Kevin Owens is like the United States champion or something, and he steals a win.
Well, they'll
Kevin
pull a
Owens
James Ellsworth.
Yeah,
like,
milk it for all it's worth. I was hoping Ellsworth would come out in the Rumble. but
Yeah.
maybe next year.
He doesn't work for the company anymore.
No, I know, but
Which is a shame.
just bring him back for one. Mysterio's back in Japan
That's
or
true.
whatever.
Yeah. That's
just bring him out for one thing, have him get killed, or hurricane, that sort of thing.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, you got so excited for the hurricane. That was
huge
fantastic.
with hurricane coming in.
I was not expecting.
Me neither. I wasn't either. I was so happy, man. I love the hurricane.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite comedy gimmicks in all of wrestling is the hurricane gimmick. The stuff with him and The Rock, if you haven't watched it,
I have not.
is gold.
All right.
It is gold. It's from 2002 or 3 or sometime around there. He had a several week little angle with The Rock, and it was fantastic. He pinned The Rock at one point.
I'm sure he handled that
well. He
choke
slammed The Rock too.
Excellent.
Because that was his finisher.
I don't think
was a choke slam.
He's
right.
He's
a little bit taller than us.
Yeah.
And small
We're not
guy.
tall, by the way.
Yeah, I know. He's a small guy, and his finisher was a choke slam because he was a superhero. He had super strength and could choke slam people.
Brilliant. That's fantastic.
So they did that in the Rumble. He came out,
Yeah.
grabs Cena, and you see Cena give a distracted thing, and then he waits and is like, wait a minute. No.
And he just lays him out.
That was amazing.
It's fantastic.
Perfect. Anyway, so yeah, that's our little rambling bit on the current state of professional wrestling.
Woo!
So so we'll see how that goes. So we'll take a short break and then we'll come back with the actual show, Dusty Rhodes and his gorilla.
Back now with world television champion, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. David Crockett mentioned earlier, Dusty, that you would have a very special friend with you here today. Why don't you tell us more about it?
Well, I told you last week, I say just real plain and simple. I said to the Koloff, I say, brothers, I say I can go to any zoo in the country, grab me a gorilla like you got walking around with you and get the job done. And the Koloff say, I don't know, I can't hear about no gorilla. Well, I went to San Antonio Zoo. I flew all the way to San Diego, not only to see the zoo. I had a pretty little piece of brown sugar there that was just so good. Anyway, I went to San Diego. They say I ain't got a gorilla bad enough that can talk to you long enough. I want you to come over here. I'm going to show you something. I told you, I say I'm bringing Betty Lou with me. Betty Lou is my cage, baby. This cage, hey, baby, how you doing? Yeah, do what? Not right now, darling. She always wants something from me. I don't know what it is. I'm telling the Koloff and going on record right now, Daddy Nationwide Superstation time. Next week, I'm going to bring me a live gorilla. I'm going to put in this cage, and you're going to have to deal with it. Now, this gorilla can talk, can walk, can dance and prance. It can do most anything I can. And it's going to be right here. It's going to be big and bad. And, I looked all the way down, and I say, this gorilla has to be able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. It has to be bad. It has to make love better than James Bond. It has to be mean and evil. And I say, gorilla, when I bring you here, I want you to mind your manners, Jack, because you're with the American Dream, the Tower Power Matter, too sweet to be sour, 260 pounds of screaming, stealing sex appeal. And I say, gorilla, you're going to be in here for the Koloff. So, Koloff, if you're listening, if you want to know what's going to be in here, you're going to have to show up because you say I ain't got no partner. I got a partner right in here coming, right in there. What, baby? Yeah. No, it's all right. Oh, I got to get away from her because she's always talking to me. Next week on this live television program, the TV champion of the world, going to have one little bitty, simple, bad gorilla right in.
Okay, and we're back here on Behind the Gorilla. This is episode 1, Dusty's Gorilla. That is going to be this topic.
Gorilla. All right, and I'm excited because I don't know anything about this.
Well, I will tell you because it is quite a story.
Lovely.
So the angle started April 20th episode of NWA World Championship Wrestling. That was the name of the show before it was the name of the company. World Championship Wrestling was the name of the TV show.
Okay.
It was on TBS. This is in 1985. Dusty Rhodes was confronted by the Koloffs. Ivan and Nikita Koloff, also with Crusher Khrushchev was part of that faction too.
Beautiful.
And they're the Koloffs are the tag team champions. And then during their little banter, he proceeds to tell them that he could win the titles from them using a gorilla as a tag team partner. It almost even seemed like a throwaway thing.
Right. That seems like the kind of folksy thing that he would say, like in a moment of passion.
Right.
You know, like,
And he compared Nikita to a gorilla and said, I can get a gorilla of my own from the zoo and defeat you guys for a tag team. Okay.
So at this point, whatever. It's just a promo. But
at the end of the promo, he throws in that he's going to do it. So you're like, what?
Dusty, what?
So then the next week, they're back on the show the next week, and Dusty's sitting there. Tony Schiavone is the main host. Him and David Crockett are the two hosts. Tony Schiavone's been around for a long time. So he's sitting there, and you go over and you see Dusty standing here with a giant cage the next week. He has a giant cage, and it's empty. And he calls the cage Betty Lou. Okay. It has a name, and he's treating it like a woman.
So this is a real
He's kissing it.
This is a slow build to the gorilla.
He's like caressing it and everything. And he's saying that next week that he found a gorilla. He found the meanest, most intelligent, but yet sweetest, because it's Dusty Rhodes, gorilla, and he's going to bring them next week.
Oh, my. Okay, so now, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought.
Go ahead.
We were talking about this earlier. This is not a gorilla kind of promotion, is it? Because we're going to talk about a lot of weird stuff that happens in wrestling.
Yeah.
This is not when you'd expect it.
No.
Like, I've only been watching for a few years, but I know, like, there's been a Yeti that showed up one time, and we might end up talking about a lot of this stuff later. Like, there's been a Yeti that showed up one time. There's been a zombie. There's really a whole menagerie of just terrible or great.
Kane used to be a Christmas tree.
Oh, I forgot about the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
That was before, and he was an evil dentist after that, right?
Yep. There's some weird stuff.
Not in the NWA in 1985.
No, not at this time. And
this is when, like, you tell, Dusty Rhodes that wrestling isn't real, and his kids will fight you. Yeah,
he's gonna knock you out.
Yeah, he's got to, because that's
ultimate kayfabe.
You got to defend it. Like, I remember Cody talking about this on being interviewed after he left WWE, and he would go to school, and kids would be like, "Hey, what does your dad do for a living?" And Cody said, "My dad always told me, well, the first time they ask you, you tell them. And if they say it's fake, the first time you say, hey, that's what my dad does for a living, I don't want to," just drop it, all right? Just be respectful. And if they don't do that, if they keep making fun of wrestling, you take them outside. That's what you got to do, So this is... Yeah. This is like wrestling is real right now.
This is back in the day when if you're a heel and someone tries to fight you and you don't win the fight, you got fired.
You're pretty done, yeah.
Like I think
you gotta back it up.
Like Mid-South or somewhere over there with like Bill Watts, I think. It's literally if his heel lost a fight, they were fired.
That's fantastic. And people would actually fight them too. Yes. Because everyone
because they're the heels.
Yeah.
So
this is cheat to win, and Dusty Rhodes is like he's the common man, right?
Yeah.
He's son of a plumber in hard times and all that great stuff.
So this is
but he got a gorilla somehow.
This is the height of realism in NWA wrestling in the South, on TV, all this stuff. So the next week, sure enough, cuts over to Dusty inside the cage named Betty Lou.
He's inside the cage now. Okay.
No, not Dusty.
Oh.
But inside the cage is a gorilla.
Wow.
Well, kind of.
Okay.
It's a man inside a bad gorilla suit.
Oh, really?
But 100%.
I was afraid, man.
They are all playing it 100% real.
No.
I'm not kidding.
No.
It is 100%. They are playing this straight, and it makes no... everyone's playing it straight, except the only ones who are struggling with this is Tony Schiavone and David Crockett. They are like...
Are they laughing?
Eventually, yeah. There are times and they're laughing, but they're just trying to, like... But there's no way.
So they're trying to, we're not supposed to be in on the joke at all. Like, they're trying to...
No, they're trying to play it straight.
Wow.
But the crowd is loving it.
Okay.
The crowd is going crazy, and Dusty is feeding it bananas. He's getting Tony to come over with the microphone and interview it, and it's just making, like, sounds.
Wait, like not even gorilla sounds, just literally, like, sounds?
I'm dead serious. It's crazy.
The funniest part of this whole thing is that the crowd is super into
the crowd was
clearly
eating up.
They were in on the joke, I guess.
But they were eating it up. And
That's
then
bizarre.
So they finish the segment. They talk about the Koloffs or whatever. It comes back, and then later in the show, Dusty's now gotten the crowd to name this gorilla, and they named it Baby Doll Number 2. If you know the Baby Doll character, it was the valet of Tully Blanchard back in the day.
Okay,
and
right.
Actually, and the week before,
the
Dusty
name
Rhodes
sounds
had
familiar.
just lost the TV title to Tully Blanchard at a
Okay.
show. So that's why they named it that.
That's nice.
And but yeah, the crowd has named it.
Of course.
And
that's nice.
so then, now near the end of the show, Nikita Koloff is wrestling just a jobber.
Okay.
And with the other Koloffs out there. And the gorilla's still on set in the cage,
Just hanging out,
watching.
eating
And he's
banana.
going crazy while watching the match.
Oh,
he's
into
going
it.
nuts.
He wants some.
Yeah, he's going
All
crazy
right.
watching them wrestle. And then after the match, Koloffs are being interviewed with Tony, which is close to the gorilla cage. And then and the whole time, the gorilla's just going crazy, trying to get to them.
Yeah.
And then when they're done, and they're acting nervous and scared.
Of course, because that's
Yeah.
a real gorilla right
And
there.
it is,
obviously.
apparently. And
Yeah.
then as they're leaving, and Koloff's yelling the last thing to Shivani, it's the gorilla reaches over and takes his headband off.
Oh my.
And they freak out.
Yeah,
Tony
yeah.
Schiavone's oh, then and they're all freaking out and they run off. And the gorilla's sitting there eating on the headband.
Just gnawing
And that's
on
the
it.
end of the show.
Score. Man, what a cliffhanger.
But we're not done.
Oh, I hope not.
The next week,
Okay.
Dusty Rhodes is back
They've
with the gorilla.
Invested a lot
In
of
the
effort
cage,
in this gorilla costume.
Still trying to get Tony Schiavone to interview him. Still just not doing anything, not saying anything.
Okay.
And apparently this is the day before Mother's Day.
Oh, well, I like where this is going.
So now Dusty Rhodes, to celebrate Mother's Day, has found this gorilla's mother and has brought her
Oh my.
to the show.
Oh my.
He
That's
goes
not
out-
where I thought that was going.
Grabs the gorilla, grabs a smaller gorilla now that comes in wearing a bonnet with a handbag.
Because it's a baby gorilla.
No, that's his mom.
Oh, this is the mother gorilla. Okay, I'm sorry.
He brings the gorilla's mother
Okay.
to the show.
Like in another cage through
No,
the crowd.
just walks
on
it in
leash?
with a chain.
So she's a nice. Oh, okay.
Like
But
has
she's
it
a nice
chained
gorilla.
up. Yeah.
Okay.
And the gorillas are super happy that
I
they're
like-
they're brought back
True.
together.
I wonder how they got divided in the first place. I also love this scenario because that means that in kayfabe, Dusty Rhodes was absolutely capable of corralling a gorilla.
Oh yeah.
If he needed to, using nothing but a chain.
Yep.
Which, like,
And also that gorillas wear bonnets and have handbags.
that's true. Well, that might have just been, so we could tell that it was the mother.
Maybe.
You know?
But at this point, Tony has no idea what to do. Tony Schiavone
Does
is just
anyone?
he's like the way I
Defies.
was watching this. You can tell he's just sitting there
Okay.
this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever been a part of.
Beautiful.
And it's the craziest thing I think I've almost ever seen in wrestling. Just the time...
Because,
A
again...
gorilla's mother with the
is-
gorilla.
Right.
It was... Anyway, so then that was it.
Okay.
And then he took the gorilla away.
Okay.
And then later in the match, another match with Nikita Koloff versus another jobber.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Gorilla's still watching on.
Just hanging
The
out.
crowd, also, this is another thing I noticed. The crowd, the Koloffs were super heels. They were the Russians,
Oh,
they
yeah.
were Soviets, and they were super... So during a lot of their matches, the crowd is just starting to say the Pledge of Allegiance. During the match. Later, then another match,
Excellent.
they're just singing the national anthem.
Oh, that's fantastic.
During the match. It's great. It was awesome. So that
Again,
was...
this is very, real world patriotism at the height of the Cold War.
It is.
Also, there's a gorilla.
And
in the
also
corner,
there's a gorilla.
Just hanging out.
So after the match,
Nice.
Dusty's in the back again, cutting a promo on the Koloffs, and this time the gorilla gets out of the cage.
Mm-hmm.
The gorilla gets out of the
Oh,
cage.
is this baby doll or mother?
This is the
the-
same. This is baby doll
Okay.
number 2.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the mother's gone.
He's out and about.
And he gets out of the cage, comes over to Dusty, and Dusty hugs him, and the gorilla hugs him back.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dusty says that they're going to be tag team champions, him and the gorilla.
Okay.
And then they leave arm in arm.
Aw.
And also, Dusty, the gorilla gives Dusty a nice kiss.
Oh.
And then, later on, the Koloffs have a tag team match. The gorilla gets free and
Yeah.
comes and starts to harass them around the ring.
Oh no.
And Ivan Koloff has taken off running. He's the big bad guy, and he's
But this
jumping
is a-
into the ring in fear of this gorilla.
This is a gorilla.
And then Dusty Rhodes has to come over and corral him and take him back. And
Right.
that's the end of the show and pretty much the angle.
Really? We got no payoff?
Okay, no, this
Come
no,
on.
no, there's not much of a payoff, but this is the most amazing thing.
Okay.
The next week, Dusty Rhodes is like doing an interview, and then coming to join them is Dick Slater, who basically flat out says that he was in the gorilla suit the week before.
Okay.
Basically, just says that.
Okay, because that was, again, not to cut you off.
Just admits it.
I was-
Almost, but not like quite. Like he doesn't still
Okay.
want to fully admit it. He's like dropping hints.
I think
about
I'm
it.
way more into this angle now. I was about to say, like, I'm imagining, like
He comes out and says, "Next time you're gonna be the one in the suit," stuff like that, and you're just like, what?
I was already fantasy booking a whole world where, like, they win the tag team titles, and then, like, later they unmask the gorilla, and Dusty is, like, in shock because he thought it was a real gorilla.
Like,
I had all these scenarios in my head where he's like, what?
but you're just talking about a time where wrestling wasn't like that,
Yeah.
and it's like for them, like all to admit it, it's like I don't know if the whole thing was just as a joke to the crowd. Like, I'm not sure.
Like, they just didn't have anything for Dusty to do for a couple months. So they just
I mean,
said, hey,
I guess it was only like 3 or 4 weeks total, maybe.
Right.
But it's just like I don't get where they thought the crowd would be in this. Like, I'm not sure if they were fully playing this as a joke.
Right.
Because if they were, which it seemed almost like that.
Now it does when you say that, because now it, you know.
But that was
he knew there was a man in the suit the whole time, and he was just messing with him.
Right.
Like, you have the Russians taking it seriously,
Right.
and commentary taking it seriously.
That's what I don't get.
That's bizarre.
Like, but you just, I mean, it's one thing for that to happen, in the early '90s,
Oh,
or
yeah,
even
for
now.
sure.
You
Like,
know
this is a bit
exactly.
silly.
What
Like,
it is.
I think of Hulk Hogan getting
America?
fired from the company,
Mr. America?
coming back as the masked wrestler, Mr. America.
Yeah.
And everyone, Vince McMahon is losing his mind trying to say, no, you're Hulk Hogan. I know you're Hulk Hogan. I fired you. You can't be here. And Mr. America's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Passing a lie detector
He takes
test.
a lie detector test in the ring and passes, and he's,
Yeah.
like, he beats him in a match, and he kind of holds up his mask and winks at the camera like that.
That's one
I don't
thing.
know if that's good or not, but I feel like I would enjoy that watching it live. Like, I enjoy watching the highlights of it.
Yeah.
But this is like, they're like, no, really, who is this guy?
Like the
that's
time and
equivalent of
place,
it.
it's like I just don't. I've
That's
never
amazing.
seen anything like this in like NWA wrestling in the '80s. Like, this is the most like height realism.
Now, do you think it's all their fault? Do you think, like, WWF in the early 90s with, like, Mantar and Isaac Yankem, the evil wrestling dentist, do you think that's where it started?
Well,
That's funny to me, because WWF's success was, like, they were WCW was the real wrestling, and
Right.
NWA before them was the real wrestling, like,
Right.
treating it like a sport, and WWF was the cartoon.
Right.
With Hulk Hogan. That's really funny, because it sounds like they tapped into the cartoon a little bit, and it really worked, and they just...
I guess the crowd was into it.
Yeah,
of course,
like,
this is
it
a
worked.
TV crowd, so it's only
That's
like
true.
a few hundred people
But
because it's in
still.
a studio. But it's like they were fired up for this
That's
gorilla.
awesome. And that's hilarious, because I was thinking, I didn't know what we were talking about coming into this, and I don't know the history. I was wondering if they would go so far as to have a gorilla match of some kind.
Yeah.
Like, get him in the ring. And I feel like that's kind of them trying to maintain, like, the joke by not having the gorilla wrestle, because then obviously that would be too silly.
Yeah.
But also Dusty's in on the joke. That's fantastic.
But like, if it was a joke, you think they'd make it more quote
a
unquote
little
obvious,
bit, right? Yeah.
It's
Like,
just-
that Dusty knew it wasn't a gorilla.
Right. Dusty
Something like
Rhodes
that.
and this whole thing 100% always was like, this is a gorilla.
Yeah.
Never was like, there was no hinting or anything from Dusty at
Right.
all. So it's like,
That's really weird. Can you take the
understand.
Russians seriously after that as bad guys?
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
And-
I couldn't.
Again, in storyline, if you think that the gorilla's real, like, that's dumb.
Right.
But if they go off the assumption that the gorilla's real and the Russians are scared of him, and then next week they're like, boy, that sure was crazy with the gorilla, you're like, okay, well, that was dumb, but, like, that makes sense.
Right.
But if it comes back the next week and he's like, next time you'll be in the suit, wink, and you're like,
Right.
wait, was that not a real gorilla? And if not, why were they scared of it? That's really
don't
weird.
Understand.
I wonder if somebody, like, I just imagine somebody got sick of it and just pulled the plug after a week. That
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure somebody knows, but just hearing about it, I would love to hear that story.
I just want to hear how that even came about.
I'm kind of shocked it didn't happen more often, because I feel like if you're doing it every week, you got to run out of ideas eventually. I don't know.
I guess, but I mean, like, this is
amazing.
like before. Like, this is 1985. Like, this is before, like, the 85 Starrcade, like, with Dusty and Ric Flair and stuff. Like, this is, like, earlier in the year. This is that same year. And it's like, and through this also, Dusty Rhodes is, like, peppering in, like, promos also, like, with Ric Flair. And also during the show, on the same show, there's this incredible program with Ric Flair and the U.S., who's the champion, and then the U.S. champion Magnum TA. During his, like, rise,
right.
And when he was, you know, before he got hurt, he was going to be the next, like, guy. And so, like, this is going on, like, right before then a gorilla segment. So it's like,
That's
just
so...
the strange. You
I
have
feel like
real
they just
NWA,
didn't-
and then this other segment that
thing
doesn't
happened.
fit in with anything else on the show in any way.
That's fantastic. I feel like they just didn't. There's no way they thought that anybody would be watching that.
I don't
40
know.
years from now and
I don't
talking
know.
about it on a podcast. You know, like, at that point, it was just, you know, you do it and there it is. It's gone. It's out there. And we move on to the next week. Like you said, all the money was in live shows.
Right.
Television was
was just advertisements for the live shows.
Right. We got to do something. Let's screw it. Let's do a gorilla.
All the matches are just job matches, really.
Yeah,
They're,
really
they're
are, in
very
promos.
rarely good matches on TV.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know.
That is amazing. Now, again, bringing it back into the idea of Dusty Rhodes corralling a gorilla, like if Mama Gorilla tries to attack someone in the crowd. Do you think Brock Lesnar could, in any way, shape, or form, hang with a gorilla in a fight?
An actual gorilla?
An actual gorilla. And if the answer
probably
is
not.
no, because grown gorillas are, like, huge.
No.
Like, how young of a gorilla
I don't even
would
know.
it be a
dude.
competitive fight? Because there's an amount, you know? Like a teenage gorilla, like, pound for pound, could he beat a gorilla? Like a gorilla that's actually his size.
Like that. How tiny of a gorilla would have to be to weigh 280 pounds?
I don't know. I should have researched this before.
Like, gorillas
I asked
weigh
that
like
question,
1,000
because
something
I asked
pounds.
that not knowing anything about gorillas or other animals, and I want to make this a recurring segment. Like, you know, how many. It's like a man-sized duck or 5.
How many John Cena's would it take to face a gorilla?
Yes,
Like that type
you
of
know,
thing?
like the age-old question of, like, would you rather face, like, a horse-sized duck or 5 duck-sized horses, that sort of thing? Like, how many wrestlers could defeat how many animals? I don't know. That's just...
Yeah,
These are the important questions that come to mind. And this is what I love about wrestling, when you just kind of poke at it and you say, what... Oh, no, see, a Western gorilla, 350 pounds. So that's like what? I mean, Big Show's bigger than that.
Yeah, okay, that's not too bad.
Braun Strowman versus a gorilla.
Okay.
They have the dexterity advantage.
I mean, Braun
I feel.
Strowman can flip an ambulance, so I think he'd be okay.
That's true. Oh, shoot. That's true. I didn't think about that.
I feel like he'd be okay.
I feel like he's not nimble enough. It's not even like the strength advantage.
True. That's true.
Like, they run around on all fours anyway. They're basically always in a grappling position.
That is true. They're like prime wrestling positions.
This is real quality. This is quality analysis. I'm trying to think of other fun combinations. Would that be a good pay-per-view match for you to watch?
I'd watch it.
Animal Kingdom? Yeah, just put
I'd
them in a steel cage. You don't even have to fight the gorilla. Just escape. The gorilla's been waiting all its life for a chance to climb out of its cage.
What, do you just not feed the gorilla for like several days
no.
then?
Oh, this is getting... Now that's real. That's like some gladiator stuff right there.
Like, do you not feed it for like a day or two?
Do they eat meat?
No, they don't. They
They
don't even eat meat.
They
eat plants or whatever.
That might be your equalizer. You just starve a gorilla so it's a little bit slower and weaker to fight Brock Lesnar. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how well
This
that
is
would go over.
This is a real can of worms that Dusty's given us here. I
That's
gotta be
true.
honest.
This is quite a dilemma here.
And that's just hilarious because I think about, again, going back to like Cody Rhodes, like when the Four Horsemen broke Dusty's leg, he wore a cast around the house for a year.
Oh yeah, no,
Like,
that was leading up to 1985 Starrcade. That's later in that year.
Beyond legit, this guy. So That's fantastic. And I know there's so much great dumb stuff we
so
can talk
much.
about in wrestling.
There's so much
I don't know
stuff.
if we'll find anything that's as good in terms of everything else was so serious.
I know.
You know, a lot of
The
silly
time.
stuff happens, and you just think, yeah, all right, it's wrestling. Like, I've had that experience a lot. There's always there's, one storyline on every show that's just like, yeah, all right, this is fun.
Right.
You know? But this is real wrestling. Like, these are people fighting. This is, Ric Flair's going to sleep with your girlfriend. Dusty better beat him, This is real. That's amazing.
And and so they had a guy in a gorilla suit come out and do like 2 weeks of programming with Dusty Rhodes and the Koloffs.
And cut promos. Now, this is my last question, and we can end with this if you want to. Is that why they call it gorilla position? Or is there another reason for that?
No, that is not why it's called gorilla
really
position.
disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. I thought about that like 2 days ago after you told me what the topic was.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, I hope he hasn't thought about it, and that turns out to be true. But
No,
okay,
that's not
man,
where that came from.
I'm gonna choose to believe that that's where that came from, and I don't even know because that's that's like right behind the curtain, right? So I guess it's a little bit different because the gorilla is within view.
No, gorilla position was named after Gorilla Monsoon. Yeah.
Okay, well that is again, no classic wrestling history. I forgot that was the first gorilla in wrestling, Gorilla Monsoon. Now I have two gorillas to think about.
Yeah, Gorilla was around before.
What a name.
Yeah, I know. Gorilla that's a great name.
One
of the greatest wrestling announcers ever, for sure.
Okay, that makes more sense. I'm disappointed, but I'll accept that. That's an acceptable reason.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so that's one of the strangest things I've ever seen in wrestling.
That's certainly it.
When we first were coming up with this idea, I was like, this is a good idea for a pod. And this before I even had found this topic, but I was just like, a podcast on the strangeness that is wrestling would be, entertaining and something a little different.
Beautiful.
And so I was looking up just weird. I mean, I thought of a few, but I was trying to look up some weird wrestling angles, and I found this thread, old thread online that was mentioning a bunch of these bizarre angles, and one of them just had a little sentence about Dusty Rhodes and a gorilla, and I was like, what? So it took me forever researching this thing because there was not a lot. It took me a while to find when the episodes were and all this stuff, and then I found a really good YouTube page that has almost all of this old NWA shows. This it's For Wrestling Fans with the number 4 is the name of the YouTube page, and he has almost all of full shows of these old NWA shows and stuff on here.
Man, that's fantastic. So is it on the network? Did you look?
No.
It feels like the kind of thing they wouldn't really promote, and it'll probably be eventually.
Maybe
they do a good job of.
There's a handful of episodes of NWA World Championship Wrestling on the network, but this group was not part of those. So, so I was able to watch the whole segment, and
really nice.
And I went back to see how far it went. So I found it was 2 weeks before, and then kind of didn't really go anywhere after that, and it's just one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
It's beautiful. That's why we watch this show, man.
That's true.
And it's fun. That's the kind of thing that's. If you show someone an episode of Monday Night Raw, you hope nothing like that is happening. Because then you gotta oh, okay, look, we know we're in on the joke. It's look, don't look at that. But like I was telling you earlier, that's the kind of thing that I really appreciate as a wrestling fan, especially to counteract. When it's serious, there's nothing like it. It's great, but
it's wonderful.
Yeah.
You get the Sting Ricky Steamboat matches, and then you get the Shawn
Dusty
and Brett
Ric
matches.
Flair.
You get these great, very serious angles, but then for every one of those, there's
a gorilla.
3 gorilla in a suit matches.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, I just feel like there's the serious to not serious is very lopsided and has been. I feel like since the Attitude Era.
I wonder how much that's always been true, and we might figure more of this out as we go, but how much of that is just there's a lot of serious stuff that just nobody remembers or talks about because it was just fine.
That's true. That is true.
When wrestling is bad, it is memorably bad.
It's true.
You give it that.
Yeah, it has its moments when it's really bad, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch.
It's probably more beautiful to watch like 40 years out
Yeah.
when it's not, taking up your time every week.
That is true.
Oh, man. I wonder, Roman Reigns should have fought a gorilla.
He should
That
have.
would have gotten him over.
He should have a CGI gorilla.
Oh, man.
A guy in a
Look,
motion
it's still
capture suit.
Andy Serkis as a gorilla.
Yes! He could have fought Caesar.
In 10 years, it's going to happen. The technology will be there.
They
It's
could
gonna
do
be
an
like a
empty.
video
They could
package
do
feud.
this. This is what it is. They do an empty
man.
arena match. Record it earlier. Several weeks before. Have time to make the gorilla.
Yes.
And then show that on Raw. Him
And it's
versus a
Roman
motion
and a
capture
gorilla.
gorilla.
Oh, that's beautiful.
They could do it. They do it in movies all the time.
That's, Vince, if you're listening, $1 million idea. Right
WrestleMania.
there. Yes, dude. Oh,
Roman
man.
versus Gorilla Universal Championship. Gorilla goes over.
I was going to say you might put the gorilla over.
Gorilla goes over in 9.5 minutes.
Because you got to tune in to that.
Gorilla goes over with a bear hug. Just
Welcome to Monday Night Raw. Okay, this is my final gorilla-related question. What is your choice for your gorilla's walk-up music?
I mean, it's got to be George of the Jungle, right?
Well, I was literally thinking that. That's why we're doing this. We are on the same page.
It's
That's
gotta be.
exactly what I was going to say.
It's got to be George
It's
of the
gotta
Jungle.
be. What else can it can't? Yeah, it can't be anything else.
But they don't even have to have the chanting. Just have the drums going.
Because the crowd is gonna sing it,
Right.
obviously.
Right. All they need is that little push, and the crowd will
Why?
jump all over it.
Oh, I'm really disappointed. This isn't real now.
I know. Oh man, fantasy booking at its
Good.
finest.
That's quality.
That's
fantasy
almost
booking.
what
You
we
know,
should start doing. Just doing a little segment on the show that's just a little bit of ridiculous fantasy booking.
I'm all for it. Look, keep your Finn Balor in the Universal title match. We don't need any of that. I want to see Roman Reigns fight a gorilla.
Yep.
You could put like the gorilla's child in a steel cage above the ring, like a shark cage.
Yes. Winner gets custody.
Oh man,
Custody match with the gorilla.
With the gorilla.
With the gorilla kid.
Roman Reigns and his gorilla son coming to the ring.
That's money.
Animal fantasy booking is about to become the greatest segment
That'll
in
be-
the wrestling podcast.
That'll be
industry.
another whole podcast. We'll do
Oh
a
man.
separate podcast, animal fantasy booking.
I kind of like it as just the dessert at the end of the episode. You just come with like a would you rather, except it's animals.
That's not bad.
No, I
That's
think
not a bad
we've
idea.
struck gold here.
I think we're on to something.
All right.
Anyway,
that note.
that'll be it for the show, though. This is Behind the Gorilla. I'm Mark,
I am Harris.
and we'll see you guys next week with another absurd topic. This one picked by Harris, so we'll keep you informed on that topic, and I'll let you know on Twitter. If you want to follow us, the Twitter page is behind_gorilla, and then both of our Twitter handles. Mine is at MarkyMarkBrand.
Oh, mine's at Harris Wilson.
Anyway, that'll be it for this week.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Make sure and follow the podcast. Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Take care.